Hey everybody, Mike here, July 17th, 2021. Thank God it's Saturday. Yes, indeed. Thank God it's Saturday. Got all my chores done yesterday around the house, did my outside yard work. This weekend is going to be a lazy ass weekend for this kid. Today is story time. Yep, I'm going to tell you a story that I've told to several people, and after I've told it to a few people, they said, man, you should put this on YouTube. So that's exactly what I'm going to do for all of you. I'm going to tell you this lengthy story. It's such a long story, I'm going to pour myself a glass of Jameson from a brand new bottle. And I think by the time we hit this, I'm going to have a little buzz going on. Haven't eaten that much today. Anyway. All right, yeah, I want to tell you guys a story. I hope you guys stick with it. The ending is good. I think I like it. I love it. It's a complete 100% true story, starting way back from my childhood. And I'll take it back to 10 years old, somewhere in there. I'll start it off there. So there I am, a knock-kneed little kid. I'm a baby of the family, baby of 6 kids. I only have one sister that's kind of like 1 year away from me, so we were the closest, and my others, they were way up ahead in years, so they didn't want to hang out with little brother or little sister. More little brother, I think. Maybe I was just a pain in the ass. I don't know. Anyway, my music education growing up as a kid, because I had older brothers and sisters, when they were off at school or doing whatever, left the opportunity to listen to their records. And me and my, what would be the littlest sister, used to listen to records of theirs all the time. So my music education started then, which would have been listening to what? Creedence Clearwater Revival, 1910 Fruit Gum Company, Gary Puckett and the Union Gap, the Beatles, Johnny Cash, Dion, the Association, the Hollies, the Guess Who, the Dave Clark Five. It was pretty vast, So yeah, it was a decent music education growing up. Anyway, my brother used to have a close friend, and I'm going to go just by the name of Danny P. I'm not going to get too far into. Look at him shaking, just shaking from wanting to tell it. Every time I tell this story, I get so excited inside about it, man. It just freaks me the flip out. So, my brother being the one specific brother I'm talking about, 10 years older than me. So I was probably 10 years old at this time, 11 years old. That would have made him, 20, 21 years old. And he had loud cars all the time, 57 Chevy Nomads, his Corvette, all kind. And he was always souping them up, and him and his buddies always had their cars, and they were always working on them all the time. Cousin down the street, one of his closest friends. And this is the guy that I'm going to be talking to you about. Danny P. Was a close friend of my brother's. And he'd come over to the house visiting my brother all the time. And there was one time in particular, he came over to the house looking for my brother. I was outside. I could hear his badass car rolling up. And the thing just rolls up, and I'm like, whoa, Danny's here. You couldn't miss the sound of that car. And it was a Roadrunner, a blue Roadrunner. Oh my God, it was in mint condition. Badass engine in this thing, kick-ass rims and tires, and this guy took care of his car, man. He polished it all the time, clean inside and out all the time. He used to rub it down with diapers. There were no Pampers back then in those days. It was all cloth diapers, and that's what he used to wipe his car down. So he pulls up, I'm outside, I see him, and he was always nice to me. It's what I liked about this guy, man. He was always nice to me. Gentle giant. I want to say he's maybe 6'2", 6'3", skinny as a rail, but just always nice to me. Always nice to this 10, 11-year-old punk kid. And he came pulling up, and, hey, is your brother home? No, my brother's not home yet. He's not home from work or whatever, so he's just going to hang out. And I was getting ready to go back inside. Okay, it's like, yeah, hang out with me, man. Talk with me and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure, why not? Again, a stupid 10, 11-year-old kid. hang out with me, man, and he's out, he's polishing his car, his doors are open and stuff, and he lets me sit in his car. Holy shit. I'm sitting in Danny's car, man. Just, I'm telling you, badass immaculate Roadrunner. Anyway, he says, hey, I got something I want you to hear. And I'm like, yeah, all right, man. And he pops in this 8-track, and he says, it's like this band's first album. I'm like, all right. He plugs it in, and I hear, and it's I didn't know it at the time, but I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm hearing the drums come in, and he points out in this one section of the song, he points out like on around the second verse of the song of what the drummer is doing with the bass drum. He's making it happen so fast with that foot, and he's explaining this to me. And after he's done letting me listen to that for a little bit, he pops it out and he goes, yeah, I'm going to put in another one for you. This might scare you a little bit, but just listen to it. He plugs it in, and I start hearing this like rain falling, and I hear rolling thunder, and it's like, oh my God, what in the world? This sounds like a freaking scary movie is what it sounds like. Remember, I'm 10, 11 years old, man. I'm freaking out by what I'm hearing. And then I hear boom, 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 along with a bell in the background. It's just like this eerie music. And then as time goes on and he takes them all out, he's asking me, do you like it? I'm loving this stuff. I've never heard anything like this before. This wasn't Creedence. This wasn't bubblegum music like 1910 Fruit Gun Company or Dave Clark 5 or the Guess Who or the Hollies. This was like just heavy beating stuff. So he tells me the first one I listened to is Led Zeppelin, their first album, man, Led Zeppelin. So listen to Good Times and listen on that second verse and you'll hear John Bonham, which is nothing now because everybody's speed lightning now on the bass drum. But back then, it was like an unheard of thing. The second one was Black Sabbath's first album. Listen to the opening cut on that and you'll see what I was listening to at that time. You'll hear what I was listening to. So anyway, I hear this and I'm like just blown out of my mind that Danny is sharing this stuff with me. I'm just a punk kid. My brother was like, oh, always get away kind of a thing. But this guy just shared with me what he liked and his car, and he let me sit in his badass car. And so my brother comes rolling up right here, and now I know it's time for me to leave because he doesn't want me hanging around. So I said, all right, well, I'll see you later. My brother's coming. And I go to run inside the house. He goes, hey, man, just it was good talking with you and stuff. And I'm glad I let you hear the stuff. And thanks for letting me listen to it. And he pat me on the head and scoot me along. And I go inside, and that was it. Well, that interaction with Danny changed everything about how I thought about music. How I didn't really care to listen to all this other stuff I was listening to, but I wanted to listen to this hard driving stuff. But I'm 10, 11 years old. This is back, this is what, 1969, 1970? My parents aren't going to buy me their album. I didn't even have a record player. It was my sisters and stuff. I didn't have an 8-track player at the time or anything. So I wasn't going to get this stuff. All I know is it's stuck in my head. So that was that. That happened. And I hadn't seen Danny in forever, since I was 10, 11 years old. But he changed my life in the music that I wanted to listen to at that time. So now here it is, 4 years later, 1974, 1975, I get into these guys. And I'm listening to Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, Jeff Beck, Rush, all Aerosmith, all the bands of those times, of the 70s, those classic rock bands. Now this is what I'm into. And now I'm old enough to where I can buy Led Zeppelin's first album and Black Sabbath's first album. And I'm listening to this stuff. And every time I put them in, all I think of is Danny. It's all I think of. Danny, Danny, Danny. It's why I've always kept my cars. It's why I always kept my cars so clean. is because he kept his cars clean. And I thought this is just the way it was supposed to be. So every time you see my truck or my past trucks or my cars or anything, they were always immaculate. They were always clean because of him. That dude was my hero, man. Period. Case closed. Period. Music hero, car hero. That's all there was to it. So now let's skip years beyond years. I think of Danny on a monthly basis, bi-monthly, yearly basis, all the time as I'm growing up. But this is before the days of internet. And my brother had lost contact with him. Life goes on, people get married, people have kids, and people just split up and they go their own ways. Move out of town, do whatever. So I hadn't heard about Danny or from Danny in 20, 30 years or so. Now we cut way to the future, and my brother, who was friends with Danny at the time, is basically on his deathbed. And I'm visiting with him. Oh, excuse me. And we're talking about old times. We're talking about his cars. There was one point in time where we ran from the police in his Corvette. I'm bouncing around in this freaking passenger seat, man. I remember it's a hardtop 62, I believe it was. And we're running from the police, and I'm like freaking out of my head. 8th Street liquor down off of 8th Street. We go through the drive-through to cut through to get through some neighborhoods. It was crazy. But he brought that up. And so we started talking about cars and fast cars. And I said, hey, just in passing in conversation and in talking with him, I said, whatever happened to Danny? And sadly, my brother told me that he passed away. And there's my brother on his deathbed, which we're already emotional about that. And then he tells me about Danny passing away. And then it just goes through my head that I'm never going to have the opportunity to tell this man just how much he means to me. Because the music changed my life. It turned me into a musician. I never would have picked up a guitar. I would have never been listening to the music that I had listened to. And I never would have opened up my ears to so many different styles of music. It was all because of him. And just this rush of sadness, being with my brother and then him telling me that I'm never ever going to be able to share this with Danny. It broke my heart. And so that was it. I knew Danny had passed away, and I was never going to be able to say what I wanted to say to the guy. So now we're going to cut from this point. A couple of years goes by, and now it's year and a half ago, 2 years ago. My buddy Adrian calls me up. I know this is scattered. This is scattered all over the place, but it's worth it. Believe me, stick with me. It's worth it. So my buddy Adrian calls me up and goes, hey, Mike, I'm having some electrical problems at my house. Can you come over, maybe help me take a look at this stuff? I said, yeah, man, sure. Boom, blaze over to his house. Between the two of us and taking things apart, we end up finding out he's got a bad circuit breaker on a circuit breaker panel. So why some lights weren't working in his house, fans or some other stuff. So we go to Home Depot. And when we go to Home Depot, we go to look for this circuit breaker, and there's just a wall of circuit breakers. Both of us, more stupidity on my part, I didn't think to take the circuit breaker out so we could match it up with one and then buy one and bring it home and change it out for him. So as we're looking and the guy's helping us out, well, did you bring the old one? No. Well, you're going to need to go get it because there's so many different ones unless you took a picture of it. No, we didn't. So we go all the way back out to Adrian's place, and we take the circuit breaker out. And instead of going to Home Depot, we go to Lowe's. Or was it another Home Depot? I can't remember. I can't remember if it was another Home Depot that we went. No, I think it was Lowe's, because we didn't want to go to this Home Depot. We didn't want to go back to it. The guy was just like an asshole. So we go to another one out like in Peoria. It's not by my place. It's not by Adrian's place. It's just out of the way. But let's go ahead and hit it. Let's stop by it. All right, we get out of our cars. We go walking into Home Depot. The door's open. Home Depot or Lowe's. I can't freaking remember. Adrian will remember. And we go walking into the front doors. I'm shaking. We go walking into the front doors. And as we walk in, I see somebody walking to the right, and my head inside just goes off like fireworks. And it's like, I know this walk. It just looks so familiar, this gait of this guy walking. And as he passes, all within a few seconds, I'm thinking, if I don't say something, I'm going to regret this for the rest of my life, kind of a thing going through my head. And I turn to my right and I said, Danny? And the guy kind of stops. And I said, Danny P, his last name. And he stops and he turns around and it's Danny. It's Danny. Here I am, 59, 60 years old at the time. And I see him turn around and I instantly feel like I'm 10 years old again, in my heart and in my head. When I see him, I got to cut this for a minute. Okay, so this guy turns around and I see him, and it's Danny. He looks exactly the same. White hair, he's older, he's still skinny, still 6'3". He looks the same, and he turns around and I'm walking at him with my hand. I said, Danny, and I keep on saying his name over and over again with my hand reached out. And this is before COVID had hit. It was right before COVID hit. And he's kind of like, his hand's coming up, but he's like looking at me like, who the F are you, you know? And I said, it's Mike. I said, it's your friend Johnny, his little brother. And he looks at me and he goes, Mike. And he, boom, my last name right off the bat. And he goes, Mike, oh my God. We shake hands, we hug. And my head is exploding. My head is exploding because I'm looking at a guy that for years I'm thinking he's dead. He's gone. I haven't seen this guy since I was 10, 11 years old, right? But now as I'm here and I'm in a tunnel vision with Danny, I'm saying to myself, I get to tell him everything. I get to tell him exactly what he meant to me and what he means to me. When I thought I was never ever going to be able to say this to him, and being sad about that, and then now the opportunity is in front of me. The way this happened, he just moved into my town 2 weeks prior, a week prior or 2 weeks prior. And he stopped off at this either Home Depot's or Lowe's to pick up a few things because he happened to be in the neighborhood. It wasn't even the one closest to his place. And here we are, I'm walking in with Adrian, he's crossing my path. What the How does this happen? Was it supposed to happen? Yes, it was supposed to happen because it happened. This was the most gigantic coincidence of my life, So at this point, I'm able to tell him exactly everything that he meant to me. The music that he let me listen to, the time that he took out to talk with me and to share with me, to let me sit in his car, to let him know that he was my idol for all those years, all the years. And that if it wasn't for him, I would have never picked up a guitar. I would have never learned to have played music. I probably wouldn't have geared my ears to the type of music and the heavy rock and the metal. Heavy rock with Led Zeppelin, heavy metal just being introduced by Black Sabbath. I would have never been introduced to that. And it changed my life because that's everything that I listened to. And everything beyond, and then it gave me the ability to open up everything that I listened to, different genres of music, and to respect music 100%, all because of him. 100% because of him. And he couldn't believe it. He was like, you could see it in his eyes that he was just dumbfounded. He had no idea because I was 10, 11 years old. Life goes on. He had no clue. The inspiration that he was to my heart, to my mind, and to my soul. I wanted to place a couple of pictures up, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to invade his privacy. But even now, I'm 5'7" and a half, and that one half is very important to me. I'm 5'7" and a half, and being next to him at 6'3", 6'4", I'm still, and you can see it in my eyes, man. I'm this kid. I'm pointing at him, man, and I'm this kid looking at this man that I'm 59 years old at that time, and I'm feeling like I'm 10 years old in front of him. I told him I told him he's the reason that I keep my vehicle so clean, and that oh my God, it was unbelievable. Oh Jesus, I gotta stop again. To know that I had the opportunity to say everything that I needed to say to him when I thought that I did not have the chance at all, once my brother told me that he heard that he had passed away. Oh my God, it was such a relief. It felt so good to let this man know exactly what he meant to me. Unbelievable. So we traded numbers. I've been talking with him back and forth, and then COVID hit, and I wasn't going to go near him or his wife because he's probably 71, 72 years old at that time. And but I've been in contact with him. We've been talking, and we're getting now that COVID is kind of balancing off, hopefully that we'll get together. We're going to either have lunch or breakfast, and we get to talk even more. And you know, I don't know if I'm bugging him or bothering him, you know, but to me, it's like I get to sit with one of my idols. I get to sit with somebody who means so much to me in my heart and in my mind, but to him, I'm just like, you know, I'm nobody to him. I'm just that kid that he talked to, that was the little brother of his buddy. That's it. He doesn't, I know for a fact he doesn't feel the same way about me as I do about him. But he'll forever and always be on a pedestal. Always, always. I'll always put him up on a pedestal, and I'll always be recognizing that he's the one that completely changed my life on how I listen to music, how I play music, even picking up guitars, collecting guitars, everything else. Recording music, recording original music. It's all because of him. It's all because of him, 100%. Anyway, that's it. God bless, this was a long story. I'm so sorry I put you through it, but I hope you stuck through the end, and I hope you'll listen to all of it. Comment below if you get a chance. Tell me somebody that means the world to you. Somebody that changed your life. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go. I'm going to take off so I can deal with the rest of this day, because he's going to be in my head. Now I got to give him a call and talk with him just to see how he's doing. Get some sun. Get some exercise. Be healthy. And I'll see you next time, man. Cheers. Oh, geez. Ice. Ice always gets in the way. See ya. Ooh, boy, that story took it out of me. Oof, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm a little tanked. Oh, yeah.